This conference will now be recorded.
All right, the time being 4:48 p.m., I'd like to call the meeting of August 26, 2021 to order. Before we get started, if you are joining us virtually, please mute your microphone during the meeting unless you wish to speak. Otherwise, background noise will interfere with the meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah. All right. First up is the review the minutes of the public session of August 19th, 2021.
I had a couple things. You want to wait till everybody's read it first?
Yeah, I read it. I've read it already.
On 2 of 5, down at the bottom where it says Selectmen Scanlon, I like to add the name A.J. Dupree before State Urban Forester.
What is that?
A.J. Dupree, D-U-P-R-E-E. So if anybody's ever wondering what was, gives them to contact me. And the other one would be page 4 of 5. It was Selectmen Tyrus moved, second by Selectmen Ruggles. So Jeannie, he's right smack down the middle, 4-1 vote. It was a 3-2 vote, and Selectman Scanlon also closed with Selectman Jessamine.
Under Jeannie reported a request.
Yeah, that's the one.
That was a 3-2.
As I recall, there was one other negative vote. Motion passed, for sure.
Yeah, that's 3-2. That for the abatement.
Yeah, that was the 1,650 abatement.
Did the abatement pass?
Yeah.
3-2.
It did?
Yeah.
And you'll see it in your to be signed file.
That was the only question that I had, was whether it passed or not, but I couldn't remember.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of August 19th, 2021 as corrected as amended.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And then we have the non-public minutes of August 19th.
We do?
We don't have them yet, but
Oh,
they're
they're coming.
they're coming.
No, I'm good, but they're 2 pages and they're not stapled, so we'll take 2 pages.
Take 2.
Take 2. Take 2 and call you in the morning.
Thank you.
We'll get to discuss this, I don't want to table it to non-public or to another time, if there's information on here. It's incorrect.
I'll second that.
Motion to table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion
We'll hold
passes.
on to them. Want us to hold on to them?
I assume we're gonna do that tonight.
Okay. Okey-doke.
All right. Next on our agenda is Jane Alden, the Allison Hartwell Stewart Memorial at Tilton Island.
You want me up here or can I just stand?
No, you
And
need to
smile.
talk into the mic.
Yeah.
Please.
So if you could please,
Well, you either have to raise the mics or I have to sit, I guess.
yes, you could raise it.
I just want you to know that I've been scheduled for the last 5 weeks and I finally got on the agenda. And I only had one thing initially, now I have 11
You
things.
just got to move that closer to you.
Oh,
Jane, and just be careful before you've got it wrapped up in the cord. I don't want you to trip.
Yeah.
There you go. Looking out for you.
It's easy to see with those lime green socks.
Let's throw her off base.
and now, may I speak or would you like to continue to
You would love,
cut me down to pieces?
we'd love to have you speak.
All right. Joe and I had been talking the other night, and I have talked with John about this, but as you know, that we as a town have been very fortunate for the past 30 years to have the Hartwell families grace us with concerts every Sunday night. They're one of the things I loved about Tilton, I didn't know who at that time was sponsoring them or who put them together, but I think they're a real draw for the town, and I know they're enjoyed by people all over. And I found out recently that Northfield enjoys them too because they sit in the parking lot across the river. So I just had to throw that in. But Allison had been there for 30 years. And after the death of her father, she continued to come every summer. And matter of fact, became a taxpayer and a homeowner in Tilton because she loved Tilton and what the island had to offer so much. And she passed away, unfortunately, last fall. And one night, John and I were walking around the island, and I said, gee, wouldn't it be nice if we had a little memorial garden for Al? And we looked at various places, and on this side of the river, there's a spot, and I have a picture if you want to pass it around. I'm not going to trip, Jeannie. If you'd like to pass it around, of where there was once a garden. It's now nothing but weeds. And I would like to have permission from the selectmen to clean up the garden, to put in some perennials and get a small marker that would not be too obtrusive to stick into the ground in memory of Allison. So that's why I'm here tonight, to see if I could have permission to do that. It would not cost the town anything. I will be in charge of taking up a collection to buy the plaque. If necessary, I will buy the plaque. I will do the planting of perennials. It will not require a lot of care because there will be perennials there, and I will plant them so that they come up at various times throughout the summer.
I'm a yes.
Okay?
We need a motion to
Yeah.
allow?
Yeah.
Consensus or?
I think a motion at least.
I would make a motion to allow Jane Alden and her group to plant a garden and install a plaque in memory of Allison Hartwell.
Second. Scanlon.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion?
Any idea of what the plaque would say on it?
It would be a very simple plaque in memory of Allison Hartwell, who spent 30 years from childhood on ensuring the community had music each summer, or something like that. It's not going to be a long plaque. It's going to be very simple, short and sweet. And if you would like, once I come up with what that plaque is, I can bring it back and get your permission to make sure that's the correct thing to say.
Please.
Please, I would like that. Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Put me on the list of donors.
And I would add to that, that next year is the 30th anniversary of the Island Concert Series.
31st, I believe.
30.
30th?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Next year's
According to
30.
This information, it's 30th.
Okay, this is 29.
And I'm looking forward to having a bigger, better celebration on the island. And Selectman Constantino has kind of already started fundraising efforts.
Yep.
Okay.
Getting sponsors to make it bigger and better.
Please add me to the list of donors, and if you need any physical help, et cetera, let me know, because I have an active crew of people returning to their
You sure
shows.
do.
So,
And I can vouch for them. They've done a good job in my yard in the past.
yeah, so let us know, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Jen.
Well, I thought you said you had two things.
11, she
I
said
wanted to
11.
complain about taking so long to get me on the agenda. At my age, you
We'll
never
take that
know
up, we'll
whether
take that
I'm
up
gonna
next, we'll take
be
that up
around the
next week.
next week.
Can we put that complaint on next week's?
Table
Do I have to come?
Table it.
We'll table it.
You can zoom in.
Yeah, you can zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom. All right, well, actually, no, this is a go-to meeting. Let's see, next. Meeting with Craig Wiseman. There he is. Parking at Winnisquam Market. So if you could take a seat there, Mr. Wiseman.
Absolutely.
Caution him about his feet too.
Make sure you,
The cord.
just make sure,
yeah, I see it.
just make sure you speak into the microphone, please,
Absolutely.
for the record.
Boy, somebody must have been short that was sitting there. Oh,
That's
sorry.
Wow. Zing and zang. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to talk about parking?
I do. I wanted to respectfully request the board to consider the parking there, just to add, kind of like that you have in the town here, a 2-hour parking limit. We have in front of the store, we have, I think it's 7 or 8 spots, 2 by the road, by the left side of the road, and then there's 5 or 6 over here. And what people are doing now, because they can, and they're being told to from the local hotels, they can come down and park in these because they're town parking, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's really only a problem in the summertime, because that's when it's, those spots are pretty valuable to us, and we lose 2 of them or 3 of them, which is very common on a weekend. We'll have 2 or 3 cars that'll park the whole day there, and we'll lose 30% of our parking spots. And so I kind of thought of what a fair compromise would be to do like you do in town here, do a 2-hour parking limit. That way, if people are there, whether they're coming to the store or they're going to the Lobster Connection or whatever they're doing, it gives them a little bit of an opportunity to be able to stay there. But it would stop them from, or at least reduce the people that are going to think about leaving it for the whole day. And then that's all I'd like to request tonight.
And I had mentioned to Craig that this would be something we could talk to the board about, and most likely based on my past experience with the board is they want to have some kind of a public meeting just to open it up for other people to weigh in. So
Sure. I know.
I told Craig that we shouldn't necessarily expect that you would make a decision tonight on that if you weren't ready to. So.
Yeah, and that's fine. We're coming towards the end of the season now anyway. I mean, and that's fine. We're just kind of getting things set up. I know that you'll have, which is great. I think a public meeting is great, but I think you'll have support from everyone there, including the people that are in the condo. They think it's they have problems with people parking and leaving their cars in the front of in the front of their spot, in the front of their place anyway. So.
Back when this issue first came up to us before you owned the Winnisquam Market.
Yeah.
And it was brought to our attention. We had 2 public hearings on Winnisquam Market and parking issues. And that's when we found out that you didn't own any parking at all. And that's when the parking actually, corner of the building was actually parking.
That's correct.
During that time, one of the biggest issues at that time that were brought out were twofold. One was one-way parking coming in by Winnisquam and then exiting out, and the other one was a 2-hour parking. So
Right.
back then, they wanted us to make it 2-hour parking. We held off at the time making that a decision because we were making so many changes.
Right.
And the condo association really wasn't on board at the time. They wanted a little bit more time
Right.
on that. So I would be in favor of having another public hearing to hear their views on it now, because but everybody else along the road, all the business owners, everybody were definitely in favor, even the people that were along the shore.
Yep.
Were.
Our other neighbor. Yeah.
Wanted the 2-hour parking at that time because of that reason.
Right. And we get along now with everybody really good.
That's
and
good to hear.
Yeah, really, it's working fine. And I gotta say, I struggled when I first bought it. I was looking at that one way, and I know you guys spent a lot of time trying to figure all that out. And I said, I don't know if that's the best thing. But you know, I got to tell you, now that we've been there for 3 years and I've been there for 3 summers, it works. And because without that, you don't have those extra spots that you have on that left-hand side when you pull in. So now you have those spots, which is great, which is fantastic. And it would be really beneficial just to the local businesses there. That's all. Just like, I'm sure that's the reason you guys have it here in town, so people can't just park and take up a bunch of parking spaces in front of a business.
Right, exactly.
So I think it's great. And so a town, I think that'd be super.
I would definitely be in favor of it. I drove up there today, took another look at it. I've been up there in the businesses and definitely be in favor of the 2-hour, because I've seen boats come up, drop off, and then just park.
Right. We try to be really good neighbors with, with the Lobster Connection. Even on our dock right by the store, we put a sign that says, if you're dropping off, please just drop off and pick up for Lobster Connection. So we all try working together there. But I'll tell you, there's nothing more frustrating than a busy, because our window of opportunity, right, is so small there. It's it's a summer. That's when you make money.
Right.
And then the weather this year and all that. And then when you lose 2 or 3 spots, and I said, we got to fix this. This is, and I thought that the 2-hour thing was a fair compromise. So.
Johnson.
If you could make like a little map of the parking spaces and which ones your thoughts were to make them 2-hour parking.
Yep. So I think, Jeannie, is there a town, like some kind of a layout of all those parking
I think
spots?
he's making all of them.
Well, what I wanted to do was just simply, so in front of the store, there's 2 by the road. People I think that for the most part, we've only had a couple in 3 years that are actually parked in front of the store and left their car there. I'm like, when they show back up, I'm like, really? Like, really? You would leave your car here on one was 4th of July of last year. I said, anyway, the 2 by the road in front of the store. And then if you were to come in, but you can't come in this way, but if you came in by the Lobster Connection and then you came down, just on that left-hand side, I think there's 5 spots there. Is there 5? Is that what it is? So 5. And I just think if you just put a couple of signs on those 5 and 1 by the 2, that's it. 3 signs will do it. We don't need anything on the store, because people, for the most part, are pretty good about that.
So we could use even like Google Maps to look out satellite view.
The spaces aren't marked.
But show
Look at
boundaries from this point to this point will be 2 hours.
So simply, if you pull in, like you were pulling into the Lobster Connection, and then you pull down the one-way, like you're going to the store, right immediately when you pull into the Lobster Connection, make that turn, there's 5 spots, I believe it's 5, on the left-hand side. And then you'll get to the one-way sign. And then where you go in now, you're going to be into the area where the store is. There's 2, and you take a left, like to leave with the traffic light. Beyond that is 2 more spots. So it's really those 7 spots. The 1 sign for the 2 and maybe 2 signs for the 5.
So when we have the hearing, it's better to have
something visual so everybody's on the same
Sure.
page.
I'll figure something out.
The other thing that came up, and we discussed this 7 years ago, there's in front of where the condos are, there's a section that's all landscaped.
For the condos there, that are there, yeah.
And that actually we had done, and we had a plan to remove that and to pave there to have additional parking. And we just hadn't gotten to it yet.
Yeah,
Which would add additional parking there because it's actually town property there.
right.
I don't know if we want to look at the whole parking situation there, because that would give you all the businesses an additional 5.
It's only it would only be a couple. There's not that much space there. I don't think there's as much space as you'd think that was there. It would, and then you'd have parking on both sides with down in the middle. I don't know if that kind of leaving it the way it is might be okay. Might be okay. I think you might be able to pick up a spot or two, but what happens is what the condo, we call them the condo people. So the condo people, right? So what their argument is, and they put up a sign, do not park in front, which is where because there's no lined spots there, but people do park in front there, when they go to eat, but a lot of times they block the driveway so they can't get in and out. So they just put up, he put up a couple of no parking signs, which is right in front of that land, where that landscape area is. And it seems to keep the people from there. And I just don't know if the area is wide enough to have parking on both sides there. It might be, a little bit. When you come a little bit farther on the right, I've got a few spots turning in this way. And that's also, we keep that as public parking too. So I think we'll be.
That's all, municipal parking, so that would be the 2 hours.
Well, I mean, I would just put the 2 hours I would just put the 2, I wouldn't have signs everywhere. I would just a couple of signs by the road along the 5 and then one by the 2. And I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine.
Yep, Pat.
I just want to caution, one caution is that it's human nature. If you do 5 and there are 20, or if you do 5 and there are 7, they will find the 2 that are not.
Right.
And so if we do 5 and then there's 3 in front of your building that are not, they'll use those 3 in front of your building that are not. It's just human nature. When we did downtown here, there were 2 up here that were not ours,
Right.
and they found those, they're not marked. We'll do those.
So, and I'm fine.
It's education.
I think it's great. I'm just trying to make it as easy as I can for the town. You guys have been great to work
Right.
with. And if you wanted to do that and put up 2 signs in front of the store, I don't care. It's all good, and that's fine with me. I'm thinking about too many signs, but
Right.
but that's fine. I mean, the part that I care about is people abusing, not using, but abusing the parking spots. That's all.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Get a public hearing going.
Great. Well, I appreciate your time.
We'll let you know when we can fit it into the schedule.
Great. And you want me to prepare some kind of something drafted so you can kind of see it? Okay.
Yeah, I was just on Google Earth though, and it happens to be the time that they paved the road. There's all the
So it's pretty glare or no?
There's no
There's no lines because the picture that I have is went just after they
Yeah,
had paved.
if you do the aerial, your spaces in front of the store are marked, but none of the street spaces are marked. But if you do the street view, none of the spaces are marked.
Got it.
We have drawings.
I thought we did.
We have drawings that are,
Survey drawings.
yeah, you have survey drawings that are marked.
Kevin had some at one time.
What I can do too is I'm a private pilot, so I can fly over and take a nice recent aerial photo, and I'll just blow it up so it's clear. And so here it is. It's going to be whatever, a
Great.
few weeks old of whatever the meeting is. So
Sounds wonderful.
Don't forget to pull up after you.
yeah, that's right. Want to get a good picture.
Pull up.
And don't park for more than 2 hours.
And don't worry.
Oh, the sandbar's real close.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for coming in, Greg.
Of course.
Still to be balls, okay. Oh, the meatballs.
Yeah, those meatballs are,
It was the one before him that made the meatballs.
no, they make good
Yeah.
meatballs up there. They're,
Oh, it's still up there now?
as far as I know, they were phenomenal.
I bet it's better go on.
I haven't been up there, but,
All right,
all right,
moving right along.
we are cruising. Let's see. Selectmen's reports. Joe Jessman.
My whole report is, we got hurricaned out last week at the concert. Although the hurricane turned out to be kind of a bust. I've been through hurricanes in Florida, and that wasn't a hurricane like I know it anyway. But we have the last concert scheduled for this Sunday. And it's not supposed to rain, although it is going to be cloudy. Please come. It's the last one. Annie and the orphans are there. And it's always a salute to the troops, and it's a big time, lots of fun. And that's it.
All right, thanks, Joe. I'm next. Just a reminder to you guys about the mitigation efforts meeting next week with, no, on September 9th. Is that next week?
No.
No, September 9th with the Conservation Commission. Just make sure that we all have our lists of things that we can work with with the Conservation Committee to come down to a list that we can present for the mitigation for the river project. So I just wanted, Chuck had sent out a reminder email about that. What else did I have? I had something else and it's been a day and I can't remember it. I'll throw the mask things out there. Are we still okay for masks in town hall? No masks, I should say, in town hall.
How do the employees feel?
Have there been any,
No one's,
raised any concerns? Okay. Then we'll keep marching forward. And then I have nothing else.
Do you have any news on the fire commission on the hydrants or where that stands now?
On the fire hydrants, we have a directive from the court to petition the Superior Court to have a special meeting. And then we're in the process of trying to do that. We're also trying to get to meet with the Water Commission, which has been not able to do that. And then there's more motions in there. I can tell you it's getting expensive.
So it would be like a special fire commissioners meeting?
It would be a special district meeting, just like a special town meeting.
Special town meeting.
There's lots of rules when you have that. One of them, we'd have to get waived, I think, is that you have to have 50% of the registered voters show up.
50% of the registered.
50%, yeah. So obviously that's something that we would try to get waived because between the two towns, that's a lot of people. Where the heck would you put them?
Gymnasium, maybe?
You'd have to have, well, think how many registered voters does Tilton have? 3,000?
2,000 and something. I
2,000,
think.
so that's 1,000 there. I imagine that Northfield has 2,000, another 2,000. So that's 2,000 people that you need to have show up.
That's craziness.
Yeah, but that's just one of those weird things. I think you can get it waived, but,
You're lucky to get 200.
and then, yeah, so there's, that our next meeting is, September 7th, Tuesday.
So presently, we still fire protection. And
We still have fire protection.
hydrants.
If there was a fire, they can put it out. So, but, yeah. So, but it's going forward and we'll see how it goes. Next is John Scanlon.
Nothing really. I did see Cumberland Farms actually thanks for getting the from land use, sending an actual copy of the ordinance. They were very happy to receive that because they found that that sign was actually of difficulty putting it up out there, but it was corporate office that forced them to do it. So they were very happy to not have to have that sign out there. So thanks to Leanne for following through. They were very grateful for that. So that's great. The other thing is I think I mentioned before something about the defoliating in front of around the wall, Tilton School there. They stopped doing it. They said they wouldn't put anything in front of the wall, and I talked to the fellow there. And the reason why they stopped and had to exit so quickly and then came back twice is the stumps were full of bees. And one of the guys got stung like 10 times in the face trying to clear that stuff up there. I asked them about it, and they said they were going out to take care of removing the bees. And the guys, if anybody asked why the guys in Tyvek like chemical suits out there, they were actually bee suits to prevent them from getting stung again while they're removing the brush. And that's about it.
All right, thank you, John. Pat Constantino.
So, thank you. We have a memorandum of understanding. I have a meeting that, let me back up. The memorandum of understanding still needs signatures. Well, as of this morning, I don't know if the selectmen have signed it since then. We still need a couple signatures. Please do that because I'm meeting with them on Tuesday and Wednesday this coming week. Thank you for your attention to that.
I have a quick question about that. Sign now. The governor's orders, the only reason we could do sign now was because of the governor's orders about COVID, correct?
That's when it started to be allowed. And my understanding is that it's still allowed.
Okay,
I can tell you we're doing it in America. We're doing sign now still.
all right, well, I will go to the sign now. I expected to start seeing hard signatures
If that's
again.
what you want, I'm happy to convey that to Tim.
Well, me personally, yeah, but that's just me personally.
Well, so what would the board like?
I'm fine with the signing the signatures
Hard
here,
copy?
hard copy. Yeah.
Oh,
Fine
hard
with that.
coming here and signing.
Yeah, hard signature as opposed to an electronic signature.
I'm fine with that.
I like to use the convenience of the electronic signature myself. But
So 2-2.
But, you know, I like the convenience. A lot of times there's things I have questions about, and I have to do a lot of research to find the information. And, you know, as for like payables and checks and stuff like that, the other concern, you know, is that once, if there is a question and you've already had 3 signatures, it's a done deal.
Mhm.
And that if somebody brought something up, when it's at a meeting, we'll look at stuff and there's something that we need to question, which we have in the past, we can't do it. It's already been approved and done. So, I don't know if there's some things that you know, like the payroll or something, which is very time sensitive, because you can always go back and correct it. You know, if there's an error in the check, so that would get done. But I think some of the payables, account payables, I'd like to see copies in the manifest for it. You know, we only get one sheet to sign something for everything, and you don't know what it was.
well, you could scroll through and see.
It's like 1 page.
No, you have to go back to the Google Drive to, in order to get the other pages.
No, I scroll right across and
No, there's only 1 page. Or
We only have 1
Yeah.
page.
When you-
they aren't actually in there. You have to go to the manifest. So what you're signing is the cover sheet for the manifest that's in Google Drive.
right, but it tells me all the accounts that it's posted and there's notes in there that I can see.
Not for us.
When he sends out the sign the check manifest,
Mhm.
Because if I have questions, I ask him. Let me just see if I can pull one up. I can view the document. Sign now. So I get,
Are you on payroll or a check?
no, this is
manifest?
a check manifest.
Okay.
This has it's one today from, I don't know what time, but, so I get a list on the front page.
Yeah.
This lists all the invoices. I scroll across and then I can see all the different accounts that they're going to. I'm not seeing the actual
Right,
bill, but I can see that, okay,
but if you had a question on that, which account it came from,
it tells me.
what it's for,
It says police department electricity, 1,000, $500 something, and it tells me exactly what it is. I can go through,
what if it said police department miscellaneous and you wanted to see further what the miscellaneous was?
Or credit card.
well,
Right.
I can email Tim and ask,
Well,
Yeah.
then you gotta go email Tim and then, but on,
but in the
if it,
meantime,
if it were a hard copy, you would just pick it up and you would have all the receipts right there.
because I haven't seen
So
anything.
2-1.
I've just had to go on and try and find them.
I like the hard copies.
Eventually we'll go back anyway.
Right,
But if I stop by, I guess I still see the hard copy if I stop by after hours.
well, you would get the hard copy at the selectmen's meeting.
Right, but he sent out the manifest today or yesterday, or I don't know if I never pay attention to see if he does them always on the same day of the week. But if I have a question, I can scroll through it and then usually he's pretty quick in responding to my questions. And I've never had like a lingering question of something, so.
Okay.
What the issue is, once you get 3 signatures, if somebody catches one of the other 2 people caught something, they don't have the opportunity to ask about that in front of everybody. That might say, hey, yeah,
deal.
I want to see something about that too. I wasn't aware of that.
It's done. Over with.
So there was 2-1.
3-3.
John.
Oh, 3-2. Oh, okay. Sorry,
So what is the,
Hard signatures,
hard signature.
on everything?
please,
Can we do payroll as,
please.
isn't that a time sensitive?
You always,
We always signed it on Thursday, John.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's not very good.
Well, I
know,
didn't.
we slow it
Okay.
down.
They have to pay it by law
It's already
anyway.
been paid.
Okay, so get back to MOU, man. Reminder to sign that housing ordinance is tomorrow. And I got a call and asked if there was anything we could do about the 2 trees that are growing on the Civil War monument. This,
growing on the monument?
out of it. If there are 2 trees growing out of the Civil War monument, have you seen them?
I saw weeds growing out of it.
Well, that's kind of like, they're almost probably about 3 feet, maybe 3.5 feet tall now, coming out of the monument itself. And you'd have to have a pretty hefty ladder to get up there to take them out. But I wouldn't know how to do that or who to do it, have done, because the root system is in the masonry. I'm just bringing that up to see who we could do, maybe have Kevin look at it, I don't know. I don't know.
There was a plan this fall to get up there and clean all that to do it. And to take a look, and there's a lot of debris and moss and everything that collected up there. And in the process of doing that, kills all the moss and everything that grows on that. So,
Okay, maybe we could wait till then.
yeah, that was for, we decided to do it in September, part of like all the statue cleaning with the, it was just, summertime was so crazy. I think I recruited Scott.
I did. It was good. It was fun.
So just so I understand, we're not doing anything, John, you're gonna do something in September.
That's okay.
Yeah. I'll just got a phone call. It was an inquiry who would do it, and that's fine. And I did look at it, from a distance anyway. And that's it for me.
I have a question about your memo of understanding with Northfield.
Mhm.
Was it a 3-0 vote? Was it a 2-1 vote
Or,
supporting it?
I haven't been there yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm going at Tuesday at 5:30.
Okay, I thought you had already been there and this was just to finalize it.
No, I
Okay.
want to bring the signed version to them.
Okay.
I have not brought it to them.
I
And then
only-
when Tuesday is Northfield, Wednesday, Sabaton.
okay, I always say that because there's a resignation on the Northfield Board of Selectmen. So,
Ooh,
Scott Haskins.
resigned?
Mhm.
Oh,
So that's the,
oh.
all right. Anything else, Pat?
It was Scott. It was Scott.
Yeah, Scott's next. I want to make sure.
Thank you, I'm done, thanks.
All right, Scott Russell.
Just one quick piece. I wanted the board to know that when we had our discussion with Chief Pizer and Lieutenant Gilman about vehicles and a possible sort of phrase like the protect and serve phrase, I actually had emailed them with a brainstorm idea that came to me in one moment of brilliance that I had. So I just wanted folks to know that I had sent an idea to them. I don't know where it'll go or what they'll do with it, but I had sent an idea. So that's it.
When is the coffee shop opening?
So we'll see. So it's, yeah, I think it will be slower than we thought at first. So with the transition, with the temporary, the interim head, et cetera. And then getting the entrepreneurship class going, I think it's going to be a little bit slower to develop because we've got a new teacher in who's wonderful, but he's taking over the reins of the entrepreneurship class and his economics classes too. So I don't know. It'll be nice because then I won't have to make as much coffee at home. So.
No, okay.
But that's it. I'm good.
All right, thank you, Scott. Is Chief Pizer?
I had sent her a text telling her that you were ahead of schedule and she was heading over, so she is not here yet. We could do one or two things. I need a non-public with the board. I don't know what your schedule's like. It doesn't need to be a long non-public. We could do that, or I could do my report right now. I'd like to do the non-public before if your plans are still the same to leave.
I will have to leave, but we're ahead of schedule, so I think I'll be okay. But yeah, I guess because I don't know anything about it. So
No, I just found out.
all right. Do we want to do the round?
Can we do anything while James still here?
Yeah,
Chief Snarl.
I can do my report.
yeah, or we can do the LRF.
Well, I would like, Tim would probably want to.
Okay. Let's do your town administrator's report then.
All right. So you all got my report. The request for bids for curbside collection contract, we had handed that out last week. Our goal was to have you look at it and see if you had any questions so that we could finalize it for tonight so that we could get the bids out next Monday. So my question is everybody okay with it? You don't need to sign anything. You just need to tell me if you're okay with request for bids proposal that Tim and Kevin and I worked on.
I am.
Yeah, it's a lot of dry reading.
Question, how are we going to deal with, I know there's been a lot of talk that maybe recycling should not be included in the bids. If they come in that, as we expect it to be, continue the recycling, it's going to be very, very expensive to do it this go around. if we get these bids in and see that, if we want to do something different, can we still change that? Would we have to send it back out? Or should we ask for other,
So there are two options that we've asked them in this request. One is for recycling and curbside, and one is for curbside only. So we're asking them for two different bids. So you have something to, consider.
And don't we have to go back to town hall for a town meeting, I mean, to ask the legislative body on that? I mean, we can't just make a decision and, let's say, if we find that recycling is cost prohibitive for us to continue to do that, and we put in the budget just trash pickup only, and we go back with the warrant to take away recycling. What happens if the town meeting says, no, we want recycling? Then they add it back into the budget at that time. We have to be careful because only 10% of the total budget, and that could be cost prohibitive if it reaches more than 10% of the budget. You can only increase 10% of the budget at that meeting. Right?
so ultimately, let me speak. And ultimately, if we put the price in with the recycling, we could take that out at the town meeting if it was the will of the voters and explain to them, these are the options for the different costs. It's going to be a big presentation at town meeting like we had before. So if you show, here's the cost of this, here's the cost of that, or the bids,
Got it.
and then we can start with a high number and reduce it.
Got it.
Yeah, I think that we
I'd
should
be
wait for town meeting.
When does the contract start? I thought it started sooner.
January.
So how would that work if you award a contract that starts in January and you have a meeting in March?
Well, contingent upon, we can say contingent upon town meeting.
We can just run month to month
I think that's what we
until
have to
town
do.
meeting.
It sounds like, I think they did that before, but
Right. There was a way that we did it.
can you just run it month to month with Bernard for a while until the sign the
Just
contract?
extend the contract month by month until town meeting and we have an answer. I heard a plan that included town-owned garbage trucks. And I haven't heard anything more
I
about
haven't
that.
seen it.
And
Well-
the cost benefits of that, if any.
There were none. So ultimately, the research was done and it was not,
It's a wash.
Yeah.
But
I think it
excellent.
was beyond, yeah.
Okay.
The grass was not greener on the other side.
So here you go.
No. All right.
All right.
All right, you've taken care of the second item, you've taken care of the third item. My question on the third item, in the minutes, I believe it said that it was going to be, the letter was going to be hand delivered. Are you okay? Does it still want to be hand delivered? Do you want me to just stick it in the mail?
Pat's going over
I can do it.
for the MOU thing. She could deliver it.
Yeah, I did, Eric
Oh,
said
Eric.
that he had wanted to.
Huh? Well, there you go.
I think just because he had been involved in it. But again, I'm just,
No, whatever.
I think we talked about going together because you were going already.
There you go.
So
okay, so hold on to the letter. I'll give it to you and you can deliver it.
If for some reason he can't, I will.
Okay.
that's next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, the collective bargaining agreement, the amendment, this can be done. I sent it to everyone. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it and if you're comfortable signing it. Did you sign it?
I think it's already signed.
I signed it.
Okay, so that's taken care of. You all got the email, and I think the copy is in your packet from Jonathan Goldman, the Chief Coordinator for Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid, asking Tilton to contact elected officials about the negative impact of the sale of state school property that it could have on the communities that are involved in the fire district. And my question to you is, would you like me to reach out to the elected officials on this? Showing your concern and expressing your support for them not to have this happen.
I think we need to make it not happen. I mean, according to this, it's $7 million.
$7 million cost to the communities.
Divide that by 35.
So essentially what he said in the letter, for those of you who didn't get a chance to read, he's saying that if the state school property is sold, Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid will not have a home, and they will have to relocate somewhere. And the cost of that relocation is going to be $7 million to those in the fire district. So they're urging all the members to reach out to the elected officials and discourage that from happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, and I'll go ahead and do that.
With teeth. A real impact, kind of.
All right.
One of them goes, grrr.
We saw the FYI. I don't know if anyone has any questions in any of the FYIs. No. There was a question.
But
Yep.
I do.
Yep.
The second from last on the back.
Yep.
Are you telling me that he can actually remove the one on the island?
I went out there with him to, oh, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I went out there with him today to look at all the trees, and the two, and I had sent John, I don't know if you saw it, John asking about those two trees, that there are two additional trees that Kevin believes need to come down. He said they look dead. But Kevin said, yes, he used to do that.
Okay.
Is there anything Kevin didn't used to do? So he's got the equipment. He said he could bring those trees down, and actually later on when we talk about the ARPA funds and this space, I asked Kevin if he could build a table for the selectmen. And he said that he could actually take that tree that you love to death and make a table for you.
That's cool. That's pretty cool.
That is super cool.
With a live edge, if you know
Oh,
what live edge is.
Yes, I do love that.
What's a live edge?
Oh, it's the actual tree.
So it's the
Oh.
edge of the wood.
Oh, I've seen that in restaurants and stuff. That's pretty cool.
So I have all the notes from that and also AJ Cooper and everything. Can get in touch with them. I'm not sure which other trees he has. I can look at them.
Yeah, so there was, if you go out on the other end, on the right-hand side, it's right next to the river, so I'm not sure that we would have to ask the DES because it's right next to the river. And then there's one big one that you have that you marked.
I could take this.
Yeah, there's one right in front of it, that if you look up, you can see there's dead, like the leader is dead is what Kevin said. But he can,
Could you-
Went over every tree and I.
Is there a way for Kevin to put some surveyor's tape around the tree just so
Yes.
that if you went to the island, you could see the
well,
trees?
John already put tape around the ones that,
Oh, okay.
so I can ask Kevin, if you can't meet up, I can ask Kevin to mark those.
They sit next to that big tree.
Which, big-
the big one that's cabled.
oh, yeah,
So what Eric is saying is kind of put surveyor's tape around it so they don't sit right under it
No, I just,
Sunday night.
no, I was just thinking more of, if I go to the island, I know which.
You know which one it is.
Which trees we're talking
Okay,
about.
got it.
And John's
I've got the map that I drew.
Yeah.
Along with everything from him and HA2 preschool, those, the trees that were identified are the ones that were of danger of causing harm to anybody. Those should be real important. The other tree would be the one, that takes the landowner by the municipal lot over here.
Yeah, that is actually, Kevin and I looked at that this morning. That's actually on our property.
Is it?
He said he could take that. So all the trees with the exception of the one with the Civil War monument, he said, because that one's in the road, over the road and it needs a crane and he doesn't have that equipment. But everything else he said he could take down.
Eric, I have one more question.
Yep.
The one that starts with Belknap Count, which needs to be a county, but.
Yeah.
Are you gonna attend that?
Uh,
Or can we?
Well, it's on a Thursday night, so I can attend it. I'm happy to attend it. That just means I wouldn't be here, but probably.
I really think that that's an important meeting, board, that we try to get funds from the Belknap County delegation. They're planning on spending ARPA funds. Perhaps maybe we can direct some of the ARPA funds over to Tilton way. Do we have anything else on the 9th that's coming here?
Yes, that's Conservation Commission.
There's something else?
On the 9th. I don't have it with me, but
We have a state representative that will voice our concerns.
like I said, I'm happy to go if you want me to go.
Thanks. Someone should represent us.
Is it, what about moving our meeting to Wednesday? I don't know what that does.
Possible, that's what you want to do, the 8th.
That doesn't work for me.
Budget committee.
That's a budget.
Budget committee meeting.
All right, well, spoil that party.
The other alternative is you just make the meeting on the 9th a short meeting. If you can, maybe it's just the meeting with the Conservation Commission and you're done for the night. You could head over there.
What time is the conservation?
We haven't scheduled it yet.
Oh,
I'll tell you, usually like a 6 or 6:15 type group, based on the last meeting.
Something like that. Doesn't, if everybody's done their homework, it shouldn't be a long meeting.
Yeah. How long does it take to get over to the, wherever the meeting is?
15 minutes.
If you have a police detail.
And the feeder bus with lights.
Put some lights on that Volvo, huh? Just
We
get
need
one to
to
stick on your roof.
we need to
No,
check out
seriously.
lighting anyway
It's
on the
about a half
cruises, so.
Yeah, we do. We need to check out the lights.
Right, we need to do a little bit of
And the traffic
investigating,
lights thing.
because we're getting new cruises, we want to know what the lights are about.
So seriously, it's probably a half an hour. So
If we do it,
if you started at 4:45 and you.
yeah, if we're done by 6:30, that's great, yeah.
Right.
Let's try to do that. That's all, we'll just have the Conservation Commission and, yeah,
That'd be it.
so even if we have them in earlier, if
Even
possible.
if you have them in at 6 or 6:15, if you do all your business beforehand.
Yep.
You should be fine.
Okay,
Okay.
That'd be great.
I do have, if no one else has any questions for me, I do have a couple of things I want to talk to you about. They can wait until later, once the chief is here.
all right.
Oh, one other thing, I just want to say quickly, if you didn't see it in the FYI, but we did get, UNH was very excited about our project, and Tim's gonna work with me on putting together a PowerPoint because I have to do a presentation next week on that, so. Thank you, Tim.
Which project was that?
Tilton Island, the UNH senior, it's their capstone project.
Oh, okay.
Environmental, civil environmental, they'll look at the hydrology and all that for the island, and also working with DOT because they're gonna be doing slope rehab, and the bridge, bridge people who are looking at the bridge, so everything's kind of connecting.
The urban forester works with UNH too on that stuff. So, attention.
Very exciting. All set?
I'm all set. I'm gonna run downstairs for a minute and I'll be right back up.
All right. Well, Chief, we'll invite you up here.
Welcome to our house, Chief.
Welcome to the sauna. It's warm up here.
So I'm just gonna pass out some documents
Uh-oh.
for you all.
Anyway,
Last page there.
Thanks for having us at your facility.
Oh, it's been our pleasure.
thank you.
Strange not having you all around every Thursday.
Oh, I bet they're happy.
So I'm here to revisit the specifics of our vehicle fleet plan. Come back with the final numbers and also with the suggested or requested ideal, if you will, proposed plan moving forward. Selectman Ruggles asked for. So I'm going to start off with the specifics on the first page. We had briefly talked about essentially these numbers, but they did slightly change. So the base vehicle price for the Tahoes we previously discussed remain the same, $39,986 from McCulkin Chevrolet. That's the state bid. We're probably not going to do any better than that from anyone. I think you can see we tried several other vendors, some of which just said they just don't deal with PPV vehicles right now. Some haven't gotten back to us despite 2 and 3 weeks of asking. The only one that you're going to see that's slightly less there is Colonial Municipal Group out of Plymouth, Mass. They have one PPV Tahoe on site, just the one, and it's not ordered to our specs. So even though they did give us something, it's very, very similar to McCulkin Chevy, and the one from McCulkin Chevy, obviously we'd be ordering it exactly as we want it. So it's really kind of comparing apples to oranges, but we wanted to provide you with some other quotes, or at least the absence of them, the absence of their availability. And we really are confident the state bid from McCulkin is the best deal. So moving down to where we did have a change. When I spoke with you previously, we were quoting an estimated outfitting and equipping cost of $15,394. Those were 2018 prices, and unfortunately, both the light bars and the radios have gone up significantly. So the lowest bid now, from OME, is $2,730. That went up over $4,000. Both the Wayland light bars and the Motorola radios have simply gone up over the course of the last 3+ years, and that was the lowest we could do on that. We are still awaiting MHQ. But in talking with them candidly, they don't believe they can outdo OME. We also, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is for one vehicle.
Yes. It's for the complete outfitting, for putting a cage in the vehicle, for putting like the push bars up front, the radio, the light system, everything that it needs to make it a police car outside of what comes from the factory.
Right. I'm sorry?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Without the patrol PC.
So a complete outfitting with everything we need to make it. Wow. And then of course you can see that when it's a small thing, but in the places that we could make changes, cut costs. I mentioned to you before that making the vehicles two-tone, the bicolor is unnecessary expense. It's really just an aesthetic preference. We pay $840 per vehicle for the white vinyl wrap that makes the cars two-tone. That's to cover the two doors, the driver and passenger side on each side. $840 when we order it that way. But what's worse is that when we damage them in, say, a crash, they charge us $900 a side, one side of the vehicle to repair for that same white vinyl. We just don't see the value. So I know it's a small thing, but I want you to know we are trying where we can to make intelligent choices. So there's no reason for us to do that. There's no reason the vehicles can't be one tone. So we previously had a detailed scheme that costs us $1,050. I'm confident in doing some internet research on several different sites that we can pull it in at $800 per vehicle. So that puts us at a final cost per fully equipped patrol vehicle at $61,516, which is slightly higher than I previously quoted you at $56,380. But it's just unfortunately what's going on with the market right now. And then just in returning real quick to the equipping companies, we also really like in considering ONE, but they're out of Northfield. So in any kind of dealings that we have with them in the future, it's common for us to have equipment difficulties or issues that we could now go to a local company and easily resolve as opposed to going out of state for every little problem we might have. So they came in at the lowest anyway, but I mean, even if they hadn't, the value of having them close is good, it's really valuable to us. So unfortunately, that final price did go up a bit. I think in the overall scheme, not necessarily terribly significant, but nevertheless, every bit's a little bit more. I understand that. So
Does that have all the technology that we're going to need to have these vehicles? Because it always seems like we have surprises. Oh, we need this, we need that, and now all of a sudden you're talking, $65,000. So is there all the technology that we need and that we can take from the older vehicles and put in these vehicles?
yes, this should be everything that we need that we can predict at this point. I mean, this is the radio, the lighting, the computer, the decaling, everything that you would expect.
What about things to hold the weapons and things like that?
Yes. OMU, they gave us like 3 pages of like line by line by line, and we went down line by line by line saying, we need that, we don't need that, we need that, we don't need that, and really to try to cut costs everywhere that we could. It's just that unfortunately that's where the price went up on this. From the 56.3 to the 61.5 is because things that we couldn't control, like the light bar system, they've simply really gone up in their prices in the last 3.5 years or so, as has the radio system. They're charging what the market will bear, and unfortunately, they're taking advantage. So I mean, it kind of is what it is. There aren't really any other similar competitors that offer the same quality systems that those companies, would recommend for us as an alternative. So it's just kind of one of those unfortunate things. We wish that weren't the case, but between the Wayland light bars and the Motorola radios in the cars, that's what bumped that price up right there. But that wasn't from any other kind of like optional packages or whistles and bells that we requested. In fact, we went line by line and eliminated everything that we didn't need. So it was really just the uncontrollables that kind of pumped it up.
What would a Ford cost?
I would have to do a whole nother, I don't have that. And if I were doing that, I would probably have to do a whole, a study essentially also with the whole, what it's costing us in maintenance in the long run. Like in the plan that you requested on the second page, we do discuss briefly that we have already exhausted down to, we have $800 remaining of our vehicle maintenance budget for the year. And that's because of the constant, fixing. We're having our vehicles go down a couple times a week now. We're just to the point that every single vehicle is such high mileage that we're consistently having mechanical breakdowns every week. And so our maintenance budget's going up. We've already, it's kind of in the second page, but basically you'll see that we've already, before September, already exhausted 95.2% of our maintenance budget for the entire year. So you can see that the cars are killing us. So I think when you consider, if you were trying to go with a different make and model, look at the issues that Kevin was bringing up, Kevin Duvall, with, look, he's got to send them away. He can't use the same diagnostic equipment. He can't repair them. So there really are kind of a lot of things taking place. And again, I've told you the whole time, it's not me personally selling you the Tahoes. It's just that it's what's being suggested to us by everyone as being probably the best option for us moving forward, because he can repair them, because he doesn't require specific diagnostics, because they're every bit as reliable as any other make and model, proven across the country at this point. I mean, they're widely used. So it's not, I don't have a dog in this race. I don't prefer the Tahoes myself over the Interceptors personally at all. I think they're all just equally as good. So I could certainly do a study on it and do some more, documentation and research if you wanted it. I just, and I don't mean to rush you through the process, but of course we are discussing the ordering window and just trying to make something happen in a way that we can get these vehicles hopefully in the next few months, not have to wait a long time.
Tim?
Chief, I apologize. We had talked earlier about, I think they can hear me.
Yeah, but the audio can't hear you.
The audio. All right.
Make everyone else.
No,
So Gail can hear you.
yeah, I know. Hello? Okay. Just a quick question. The patrol PCs, I hadn't looked at the OME quote. Did they include installation, the wiring installation for the patrol PCs into this?
So I don't have the exact breakdown. It was 3 pages of breakdown. I just don't remember if that's actually in there or not, but
So the worst thing I can think of is that might be required, if it's not in there, would be the mount, the wiring, and just the connection to the rooftop antenna. But I think that's all in that wiring harness. So that's the only thing I can think of that would be additional.
I don't believe there's anything on the list that quoted us that they were quoting us non-installed. I'm fairly confident that everything they were saying was, here's everything we're breaking down for you, installed. I think they would have mentioned or excluded it specifically if they hadn't meant to do it.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
So,
In a perfect world, I'd say, go for it. But here we are.
Right.
It's a lot of money. And as long as Tim's got that microphone, my question is for you. How does this work out for us financially?
So in your packet, you should have a sheet that shows the 21 versus 20 budget comparison through the end of August. And I've highlighted the police budget there. You can see at the end of August last year, we were 66% spent. This year, we're 53% spent. A number of reasons for that. But the majority of the reason for that is in the wages, benefits, and tax lines. Specifically, the two that are the largest differential are the chief's line, because the timing of hiring, and also the interim was not a chief of police, so therefore was charged to the officer's wages line. And so there'll be about $30,000 remainder at the end of the year in the chief's wages line. And then retirement group 2, again, there's going to be about a $40,000 differential there in that line alone. And there's a number of other lines, health insurance and otherwise, that they'll be saving. So I've shown you here in that middle section what the total balance is for the end of the year, 972,000. What our projected expenses for those wages, taxes, and benefits lines are. But keeping in mind that there are some other areas of the budget that we need to make whole, some other expense areas, legal line and so forth, that I have some of that earmarked for. But there's sufficient monies to certainly pay for 2 vehicles out of the budget. And if you look at that lower section, you can see that the 2 outfitted police Tahoes that Chief Pizer has noted are $123,032. In our current detail fund balance, we've got $43,150. So the net would be just under $80,000 that would have to be paid out of the budget. And keeping in mind that through the end of the year or such time that we would be taking delivery of vehicles while they're ordered, delivered, upfitted, by the time we go to pay for them, we will probably have contributed another 5,000 or 10,000 in that detail fund, because through the end of every year we have Thanksgiving, Black Friday, all those sorts of details, the retail details, and then we also have some other regular commercial details that have been ongoing. So I would anticipate we'd be looking at somewhere between a net change to the budget, net expense to the budget of about $70,000 to $75,000, which is identifiable and doable, in my opinion.
okay.
Chief, are you anticipating if we go ahead with this purchase of 2 police vehicles out of the budget, out of the 2021 budget, Are you anticipating on putting a requisite in the 2022 budget for another cruiser?
Yes, I think you can see that the plan I'm proposing right now is for 3 vehicles because the entire fleet is in such a woeful state. If you look at the 3rd page, I know we've already been over this before, but it just has our most updated numbers, and I kind of color coded it all for y'all, just to give you an idea of kind of where we're at in its entirety. So if you're looking at the bottom of the orange, are essentially 10 of our fleet vehicles total, detail and patrol use. And there's 1 or 2 admin in there as well. And then the 2 yellow combined, if you look at all of the mileage in the orange is all over 100,000, and many of them well in excess of that, into the 130s and 150s. And then the 2 yellow will hit the 100,000 mark around January or February of this coming year. So we're really looking at 12 of the entire 15 vehicle fleet. Really the vast majority of our fleet is just very high mileage, very old vehicles, just in a poor state generally. And of the remaining vehicles, one of those remaining that we use for patrols and unmarked, which we're looking to in the future move out of that role. We'd like to use all decal vehicles for patrol use. And then one is one that just, we don't even use it. I address it in my long-term plan, the Mitsubishi. It's the lowest mileage of the entire fleet, and it sits in the parking lot unused. So it might be a good time maybe to go ahead and just bring up that 2nd page plan. Again, I just want to suggest to you that I was asked for kind of like an ideal situation. If moving forward, what we'd like to see happen to kind of make this fleet not have to deal with problems such as this every couple of years, to where we could get into a better place. And I understand that not everything that we're discussing is going to be imminently feasible. So just for the benefit of the recording, I'll just go ahead and read it. The board requested a long-term PD fleet plan proposal that would constitute a reasonably ideal fleet situation moving forward. In preparing such a plan, I utilized 100,000 miles as the approximate patrol use cutoff point, suggesting that beyond that mileage level, vehicles should be transferred to detail or administrative only utilization. That mileage standard, as previously presented to the board in a previous meeting, does constitute both an industry and a locally recognized best practice for patrol use vehicles. The proposed schedule below is assuming the approval and purchase of the currently requested 3 2021 Chevy Tahoes, enabling the following immediate fleet changes. If we in fact got those 3 vehicles within the next few months, 2 in the budget right now and 1 in moving forward, either with potentially ARPA funds or with the next year's budget, but still early in the year, then we would be able to retire from the fleet and sell at auction 04B, 06B, 06C, and 10A, all old Ford Crown Vics, a 2004, 2 2008s, and a 2009, all in very poor shape and regularly breaking down. We could transfer from patrol use to detail use, 13B, 14A, and 15A. That's 2 Ford Interceptor sedans and an Interceptor utility. Those years are 2013, 14, and 15. All 3 of them are in excess of 100,000 miles. One of them quite a bit beyond, let's say in the 130s. Yeah, 135. So the vehicles next projected to reach 100,000 miles, unfortunately, are pretty close. 17A and 17B are projected to reach 100,000 miles by January or February of 2022. Ideally, obviously, we don't want to continue this process of letting the vehicles get this old over and over and over and over. So ideally, again, both would be replaced with new vehicles at some point within the 2022 budget or early 2023 budget, allowing for the retirement from the fleet of 06D and 13D, which is the last remaining 2008 Crown Vic and the oldest fleet Interceptor, which currently right now has 151,687 on it. And of course, by that point, we'll have many more. So we're really just at a point, I don't mean to put too fine a point on it over and over and over. It's just that the fleet has been allowed to get to a sorry state, and it just takes money to fix it at this point. So I know that there's been some discussion about what about fleet rotation, which would work if we had a wide range of mileages on the vehicles, but all of the vehicles are high in mileage. So it's not really feasible to be able to rotate use back and forth because we're dealing with the same problem with all of them. I would suggest potentially moving forward as just one potential option as well is to consider the sale of 12D, the unmarked Mitsubishi, the one I told you about that essentially is unused. And 13A, which is one of the other admin sedans, it's at 139,788 right now. Now it's not a top priority because it's not being used for patrol use, but nevertheless it's getting up there and we're going to continue to have the vehicle maintenance costs. With the proceeds of both of those sales to be directed toward the replacement of one vehicle, the admin sedan replacement. I just don't think that Mitsubishi's are money well used. I think if we sold that and sold the other at auction and used those proceeds to push toward an admin sedan, that would be money better used. Again, this isn't a priority, but we're just talking long-term planning. these vehicles aren't doing anything but getting more and more mileage as time goes on. So ignoring it is just exacerbating the situation. And then just my last point for the long-term plan is that it's notable that of the $18,000 that we allot in the 2021 budget for vehicle maintenance as of today, $868.94 remain, which is 95.2% usage, and we still have September, October, November, December. So the vehicle maintenance is killing us, and the way to solve that is to do some replacements and some retirements and some selling of vehicles so we can start recouping some of those costs. I know it's fiscally painful, but the mileage is not going to go down. It's only going to continue to go up. And so
we can buy two.
I think we need to immediately buy two, but I mean, everything that we're planning here for even attempting to get the fleet in order requires that third one sometime in the next year, in the next few months.
But you're asking to do two and a third one in the very near future, and then two in January, two more in the 2023 budget.
I'm really just
That's
letting you,
5 in 2 years.
yeah, I'm really just letting you know that those two are going to hit that mark in January, February. I understand that it's possible, most probably not feasible for us to do 5 cars in 2 years. But you asked me, where do we need to go to try to fix this long term? And I'm just letting you know that if you're honestly, if you want me to give you the answer to that question, then the fleet is in a bad shape. If you look at the 10 of the vehicles in over 100,000 miles, we just should never have allowed it to get there. And then 2 more that are right there at that verge. So 12 of the vehicles are really very high mileage, and up to 15, and one of those vehicles that's left over we don't even use. So the real answer is that the vast majority of the fleet is in very, very high mileage. It's killing us in maintenance costs. The aesthetics are of course terrible. I mean, people are always calling me and telling me how terrible our cars look. It's a minor point, but just notable. So I just think that at some point we will have to address it. So in realistically looking at the numbers and saying, how are we going to fix it? I think we have to do the 2 vehicles right away, the third as soon as we can. And then if you're looking for to not end up here again in a couple of years, the answer is that whenever we can to do 2 more and start retiring these 130, 150,000 miles cars, we just probably should not have ever retained cars at that kind of mileage to let them get to that point. They're just constantly breaking
In
down.
5 years, the 5 new cars will all have 100,000 miles on them.
It really
And
just
we're right back where we started.
it really just has to be that we continuously, so previously you had like a plan, I think, of buying 1 vehicle a year, but I'm not sure what state the fleet was in when you began that, because it seems like either that was inadequate, the 1 a year was inadequate, and then so over time it exacerbated, and the consequences are we ended up where we are, or if it just started, you started with a bad fleet situation when you started the 1 vehicle a year. But either way, whichever one of those 2 things was going on, and I don't know the history of it, it's brought us to where we are now.
We stopped buying 1 vehicle a year. That's why we got to where we are.
Right. So
if we bought the 2 right away and possibly the third next year, would it be helpful to buy 1 a year from that point on?
it would be.
Okay.
We'd still end up having a couple of vehicles that we have to use for patrol that would be in excess of the 100. I know that you'll have been doing that, and I know that I'm coming in telling you, hey, that's kind of a problem, but it's like something you've been doing for a while. So I understand if you have a higher tolerance for it than, perhaps I do. You're coming in asking me, like, is that a good idea? And I would be telling you industry-wide it isn't, but I understand it's something you've been doing. So it's not going to kill us to continue to use high mileage vehicles, but I mean, there are safety concerns associated with it. There's maintenance concerns associated with it. It's not a best practice. So I think it behooves me to advise you on best practices. So I think if you're looking at the 3, and the reason I keep stressing the 3 is because if you're looking at it, we're already at with the 3 that we're going to move down to detail. We're talking about moving down one that's at 135,496, one that's at 113,905, and one that's at 104,328. And of course, by the time we actually get the actual replacement vehicles, they'll be much higher. So it's not like they're vehicles that are almost there. They're there and beyond. Yes.
So 2 vehicles would be this year, but the other one would be on the 2022 budget.
Yeah, I would hope
So
it would
we're
be.
only actually deciding on 2 right now because it will be placed in the budget which comes up.
Unless, of course, we were able to get that third one and maybe some ARPA funds. I think there's been some talk about the possibility of that.
Yeah, so we're waiting, and that'll come up when we discuss that.
The ARPA funds.
Yeah. we're hoping that one of the vehicle would be eligible for those funds. We're just not clear on that just yet.
Okay,
So right now, if we were looking to get approved for 2 vehicles right now, and then in the works, we're trying to
Just
figure out how to get.
To let you know, in the near future, I'd like to try to get that third if we could.
So, I mean, I'm gonna make the motion to approve purchasing of 2 fully equipped patrol vehicles for the 61,516 each.
say that again?
I'm looking, if you look at the bottom line, that's the number I'm looking at.
61,516?
Yes,
Okay,
and approval for purchasing 2.
for 2. I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Joe?
That's predicated on these cars coming from Nashville, correct?
We're pretty confident that the state bid, that no one's gonna be able to outdo the state bid.
I got that.
So yes, it would be from
What
McCullough.
concerns me is that if we have a problem with the car, does it have to go to Nashville to be worked on? Or can it be worked on at a local Chevrolet dealer?
Yes.
Any local Chevy
And
dealer,
still be within
yes.
the
That's just
warranty and.
just the purchaser, yes, just the
Okay.
purchaser. And of course, the whole idea being that hopefully Kevin DeWall can work on more of the problems, certainly that he would be with the interceptors.
Warranty
You're
issues.
you're using words that scare me. Hopefully, should be.
Never want to lie to you.
Well, I'm,
Using the best information that we have. I'm telling you what Kevin DeWall tells me, so it's kind of
Yeah.
third-party information.
Yeah, I think Kevin's comfortable. That's the conversation I had.
Same.
okay, I just when I guess, I hear should.
Except warranty work.
Yeah, to give you
And he'll send it to
an
the dealer.
idea, I wouldn't have walked in and said, I want to necessarily go with the Chevy Tahoes. After consultation with him, I was convinced from his argument that it was the better choice for us for vehicles.
I've worked, I understand the warranty side of it because you can take it at any authorized Chevy dealer or any authorized Ford dealer. Joe?
Did you look at Dodges?
Honestly, we did not look at Dodges. And we can do any additional research that you all are interested in doing. It's just, again, it's really just time.
I think.
Go ahead, John.
So talking to Kevin, when I saw some of the cars and the parts down, in the work, and I talked to him about Dodges, but not nice vehicles. And he said, farm, that the best car for working on and easiest to work on is the Chevy and the Tahoe. He's looked at them. I don't believe he'd steer us wrong in any way on that because he's not happy working on the Fords. I think he's a Plymouth guy anyway. So,
All right.
nobody's ever seen me go and make a motion to buy 2 police cars in the history of this town and the budget in 25 years of budgets. I've never, ever said, but I was looking at those repairs, get them out of our budget. They do not have to be subjected to that abuse.
That might burn the paper when it's typed on. When Gail puts this in the minutes.
Romantically just.
John
Don't
made
put it in
that.
bold.
I call the question.
John
Questions
made
been
that.
called? Questions been called? All those in favor of purchasing 2 Chevy Tahoe PPVs using the state bid for a grand total of $61,516 times 2, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
I think that was using all of these vehicles, and my motion was the bottom line on the page, not on the state bid. That was the motion.
61,516.
Yeah.
That's what he just wrote.
That's what I read.
Fully equipped patrol car, 61,516.
Right, that's what he just said.
And that was vote was
Aye.
Jeannie, sorry.
I think it was unanimous.
It was.
I just had a question. I had to leave the room, so you may have answered it. I was just curious, I know we have black and whites now. Are we continuing black and white or?
The vinyl, that do the two-tone, it's kind of silly, really. We get them from the factory, they make them in one color, and that two-tone effect is achieved through vinyl. So if you buy it from the dealer, they charge us $840, I believe it is, $840 per vehicle to do the vinyl. But if we crash them, if we damage them along the way, the repair for it, we actually did this last year, apparently, before I got here, that was a crashed vehicle, that $900 per side, $900 per side for a driver and passenger side vehicle to repair vinyl. We think that for the aesthetic, which none of us are terribly in love with to begin with, we don't mind a one-tone vehicle. Doesn't seem like it's a reasonable use of the money to just spend the extra money to make them two-tone unnecessarily. We're looking at like a navy blue SUVs with a new decal scheme featuring our new patch, which you all see on the. So it's just a modernized, cleaned up version of the current one. Not so many colors, not quite so loud and.
That. Got that look in their face.
It's a pet peeve of mine. You know, we have new people come, new people make changes, new people make really great changes, and then people make other changes. So I get about the decals and saving money and making it simple. What I don't get is the patches. We have patches on all of our uniforms now in order to change to this patch. I don't see the need for that yet. To go ahead and take all those patches off and then buy these patches and put that patch on to match everything. We did that not too long ago, and it cost what we thought was only going to cost under $100 was a few hundreds of dollars in the budget, and we got duped. And like Eric said, well, and we outfit a vehicle, and then all of a sudden we need this, and we need this, and we need this. We've been through this before, and no disrespect to you at all, because we don't know you, right? And so I'm not saying that, but can we take a step back and say, okay, the vehicle, I get that. You want to simplify it, we'll go with all one color, we'll go and change the color, fine, I get that. But as a new, you know, a patch, can we hold off on that a little bit? Maybe it's not quite order them yet.
So first of all, they're already ordered, but let me explain it to you. You last purchased them in 2018. We're completely out of new patches. There are no new patches. We had actually placed an order for the old, these ones I'm wearing right now, and had to cancel it when we realized, you know, this is the time to make a change, because whatever we put on the vehicles now are going to be there for the next 10 years. So if we're ever going to make a change, it makes sense to order new vehicles with the new scheme. Now this is, I think you're misunderstanding. There's virtually no cost associated with this. These patches, we had to order new patches regardless. The ones I ordered were no more expensive than the current. So we were out of them anyway. We just ordered replacements with a different scheme. We're not going to replace all of the patches on the decals on the entire fleet are not changing. We're only going to do the new vehicles as they come in, and the old ones will eventually just grandfather their way out.
So the patches on the officers' clothing are not changing.
They will, but just changing patches on a uniform is it's so small, it's not even worth mentioning. And in fact, if it's a problem, I will simply pay for it myself. It's not even
Wait a minute.
It's so inconsequential.
No. It's not in, whatever that word you just used. How much does a patch cost?
It depends on how many you order.
No, all right, so how much did you order?
200 patches.
Okay, and how much did it cost?
I put it on one of my last, the last one I just sent to you, my last weekly report. I want to say it was $460. And the last time you ordered patches in 2018, you paid.
I know, I get that part, but so it does cost money, $460 for 200 patches.
Right.
And all of the offices, you're not just going to give one patch out. You have two patches, and they each have 4 or 5 uniforms.
Right, but you understand we were going to order
I
patches.
get you were gonna order
already.
them anyway, but
Like, we were out of patches. Neptune's called us and said, you have no patches left.
doesn't compute to me when you say, well, it's no cost to us. It
No,
does, it
it's
is a
a-
cost to us.
It's a regular, expected, necessary cost. What I'm saying is, three and a half years ago, you ordered patches because you needed the next 3.5 years worth of patches. Now they're exhausted. We went to go order patches again, and it made no sense to not make the change now because we had to order them anyway.
Did we go through a fee of changing the patch and all of that? Did we?
It's included in the cost. In fact, you last ordered patches at like $430 or $440 for the patches that you ordered, and it was like for $150. I got $200 for $460, so it was a far better deal.
And so the logo and all of this paper and everything that we're changing now to the new patch, is that at a cost to us or no cost to us?
No, they give us the art for free. Once they change our patch, we get the art for free. These are all just, it's just digital art they give to us.
So we're not having to pull the old patches off and some new patches on.
Yes,
I was getting to that.
it's just not a significant, I mean, it's a very low cost,
But how much is low to you?
$2 or $3 a patch.
$2 or $3 a patch, so we have, what, 20 offices and $5.
Let me lay it out for you like this. I'm not meaning in any way be disrespectful. Like, I just made challenge points for the department. I spent $600 of my money to do that.
That was my next question, once we got,
And I'm happy to.
that house.
But I just want certain things. I want our department to be proud, a proud department. And I'm happy to make up whatever differences that issues like that come up. And so the patch thing is just a non-issue to me because anything that you have an issue with, I'm just going to take care of myself. So this is a normal cost. Ordering patches for uniforms is a normal cost. So if there's heartburn with changing them out, those handful of little hundreds of dollars that will be, I'll take care of myself. It's not even an issue.
Joe?
I'm curious why the change of patch. These are nice patches. I understand we have to order more patches in any case, but why change the patch?
So the officers came to me not liking it. So their main complaint with it is that when people see it, there's no obvious indication of the city. So it just says police across the top, very generic. And the Tilton is like really small. And so lots of people are always walking up to them going, where do you work? Which one of the towns are you? And they don't like that.
Good point.
Secondly, they don't really like the color scheme. They think the yellow was very gaudy. It's obviously personal preference, but a lot of them feel that way. So because we were going to put these things on our cars and change the decal scheme right now, if we were ever going to change it, this was the time to change it. So because it was already discontent with it, it just seemed like this is the time to come in and make it look the way we want to look at it to look moving forward. And it's been the patch a really long time as it is. I couldn't find anyone in the department who's been there any length of time that even remembered the last one. So, and
Talk to Dickie Paulus.
what's that?
Dickie Paulus.
He probably remembers an old one.
And
Yeah.
maybe Officer Dan.
Yeah, those would be the two that would probably,
The only two.
yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else? I like the new patch. I was a little tough on me at first, but I warmed up to it. But in my mind, I said, we're entering a new era of the Tilton Police Department. We have a new police station. We have a new chief. We're gonna get some new cars, updated. At first I had a problem with it, but now I'm sitting here right now in front of you telling you I'm okay with it.
I very intentionally kept it within the same spirit of the current patch. I mean, you can see this shape of the patch didn't change. None of the wording is different. It's just in different places. The town seal is still present. I used so the laurel wreath surrounding the patch, the town seal is actually from the New Hampshire state flag. So there's just nothing way out there. It really is the same patch, just modernized and cleaned up, and the color scheme changed a little bit. And I do hope that you'll allow me some degree of management prerogative in running my department. I understand that you have a heavy involvement in hiring and in budgetary issues, but if you're going to have a department head running a department, I hope you will allow me some management prerogative in making decisions for my department.
Who? Oh, you, Scott, go ahead. Sorry.
So from experience, this is not a question for you, but from experience, from having extensive years in ordering athletic equipment, et cetera, my guess is that we probably reduced cost a little bit on these patches because there's less colors. It's less complicated. It is far cleaner as well. So I think going forward, it might be a minute savings, but knowing the fact that we're now down to 4 colors, if I see it, as opposed to 6 on the current patch. You know, and anyone who's paying for digitization anymore is getting ripped off. So companies throw the digitization in because it's very, very easy. Second thing, question about the Mitsubishi.
Yes.
And it'll be a question overall. Why are we?
Are we still on the patch stuff? Good.
No, I thought the patch decision has been made. I think we can move. in my
Do we
opinion.
need to consider support that?
I
For it?
think
Okay.
so, but that's all right.
Changes hard sometimes, but I'm okay.
No, go ahead.
I'm good.
I'll bring it up again. Go on the Mitsubishi.
No, it's, as I look at it, we're now on 4 months where it's gone 17 miles. And my concern is that just when vehicles sit, they are going to, something's gonna happen if there's extensive use. I think very soon we need to make a decision as to whether to keep the vehicle or not.
Yeah, I do agree. So I think I already mentioned it in previously discussing it, but basically it's, you know, it's a 2018. I'm sorry.
Interrupt on this. I think that vehicle was purchased in a special program and we can't discuss that.
Shouldn't be
Oh.
discussing it in
It's
public.
not being used.
Oh, we shouldn't be discussing it in public.
Okay,
We can table
We
it.
can talk in a minute.
sure.
All right. Anything else?
Can I bring up another department issue before I go?
Sure. Where do we want to put the patch today?
Put the patch.
It's not about the patch.
Oh, okay.
It's really not about the
The
patch.
cost.
I just want to make that very clear.
The cost.
Because it's not about the cost either. It's about answering to our constituents. It's about answering to the budget. It's about, we have a $5 million building now that we have to pay for. And that we now just spent $123,000 trying to upgrade to vehicles. And when we go through and purchase and buy and change and do things, and people look at this camera, it's not about disrespecting and not believing in you, because that's couldn't be just the opposite of me, trust me. It's about answering, because we'll get the phone calls when they all watch this, and we'll get the phone calls. Well, are we going to be doing this? Are we going to be doing that? Are we going to do that? And then the budget committee on Wednesday night will say, well, what else is there going to be? What else is going to be? And yes, there's nobody at this table that wants to give you the discretion to run your department the way you want than me. Trust me. It's not about that. It's about the money and having to answer to our taxpayers that put us into this position, that say, how are we going to pay for a $5 million budget if we have to figure out where we can tighten a little bit, and maybe not all the bling, and that's the way I've kind of described it in the 12 years when Bob Comey was here too. The bling, can we lessen the bling to our eyes a little bit and maybe tighten the belt a little bit? And that's where we could save some taxpayers a little bit of the money. That's what I'm trying to do, not necessarily look and say, why are you doing this? Don't ever think that.
Right.
I'll always put a phone call in and say, hey, Corey, Chief, what about this? That's what it's about. It's not about a patch. I like it. I love it.
And I really do understand.
But it's about 200.
Right.
It's about
And
$460.
believe me, I wouldn't even have considered it. Had we had 100 patches sitting in the back ready to go onto uniforms, wouldn't even have been an issue. We were good to go. But since it was time to order anyway, since we're about to order 3 new vehicles with a new decal scheme, this was the time, if we were ever going to change it, it just made sense. So I also, fiscal responsibility is important to me. And I think as time goes on, you'll see that I'll prove that to you in the things that I honestly just pay for myself. Because I really want a good department. I want a good looking department, a good functioning department, one that's efficient and aesthetically pleasing. So I don't want to get lost in the pennies. The patch is what it is. Happy to eat whatever costs the board's not comfortable with, but really, we're really talking about just a matter of very, very small amounts of money here.
Good.
Anyone else? John?
Yeah. What I understand, and I didn't even realize until I looked at your shoulder that I couldn't tell what police department you're from. And I see a lot of, if you watch it on TV and they have just a generic police or something, people can get anything that says police. Could be Metropolitan Police or MDC or College Police. Having it identified as this is our town official police, and I never noticed it.
Especially with so many towns in close proximity to each other. It's with Northfield right on top of us and Sandwich so close that it's reasonable that citizens wouldn't know which one we're from. That they don't memorize our patches or our uniforms. They just see a police officer. They don't know which town you're from.
Yeah, and I'm kind of old-fashioned like doing stuff, but we need to, we got to move ahead and like you said, this is the time to go because I don't see where it's any difference in cost right now.
Yeah, the only cost I could see is that, sure, if you're going to make the argument that we wouldn't have traded out patches on all the uniforms, that's reasonable. That's a legitimate concern. It is a very small cost, and again, one I'll gladly eat. It's just not. It's a matter of a few hundreds of dollars, and I think I've already proven I'll eat that for all kinds of things myself anyway. And $600 on challenge points, my own money. I have no heartburn with that whatsoever.
Joe?
This is in the current budget, correct, Tim?
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't have to raise or appropriate any money to make this change.
No.
I make a motion that we allow the chief to change the patches on the officers' uniforms as well as the police vehicles as they come online.
Jackie did it.
We're ratifying it.
Well, then
you're
we'll
confirming.
ratify it and
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Can I ask the chief a question?
Sure.
Go ahead.
And I also want to state you have my complete support to do what you feel is the proper thing for the Tilton Police Department. As long as you stay within your budget. I know you're inheriting a budget right now, but going forward, there'll be, lines to toe and all the rest of that stuff. But far be it from me to tell you how to run your department.
Thank you. Thank you.
Challenge coins. I'm hoping you're not taking that out of your own pocket, but I would love, number one, to find out if you are. Number two, would you please explain to the board what challenge coins are so that the public out there that will view this know, I happen to know what they are, but tell the board what they are.
Sure. And I'd like to take this time to go ahead and just pass out your all challenge coins as well, if you don't mind. You're all members of this town, representatives of this town. Departments, the police department's one of your departments. So obviously I got one for all of you, so you can take a look at them.
Thank you, Bert.
Handsome.
Love the new logo. That was fast.
That's actually the old,
Wow.
that's the old patch, but it is our badge.
Ministry.
So just a really brief history on challenge coins. It's been around for, I really can't speak to exactly how many decades, but it began with the military. So different branches, different units within the military would each have their own unit coin. And it started out as a tradition where socially you'd go out with other soldiers and you would be carrying your units that you're assigned to a challenge coin. And so you run into a buddy or another guy from another unit and you would say, hey, I'm challenging you with this coin. You lay it down and said, and if the guy didn't have his to answer the challenge, he would now owe you a drink or a meal or whatever.
Oh, I love this.
So now, then over the years, law enforcement got into the game as well. And we've been doing it for decades as well. So it's kind of a law enforcement military thing where I think a lot of people, probably not in our business, will use them as paperweights, but a lot of people collect them. It's really just kind of a little esprit de corps item that most departments these days do have one. So I was kind of surprised to learn that the Tilton had never had one ever. I mean, my agency I came from is now on its 14th challenge coin, one for nearly every unit within the department. So just a little esprit de corps morale builder kind of thing for the troops. And they've all been very, very, very positive response. Didn't cost the town anything, just a little something I wanted to do. But I think they turned out nice, and I think it's been a really good response.
They're really, Just
And
sharp.
I've got no problem spending my own money on that.
What's his head, what's
Truly,
his tail?
I really don't think you should.
truly.
That's my opinion, because I think that this is an exceptional morale builder. I've known this for years, and other departments have them throughout New Hampshire, and successfully have really been successful in morale building and team building within the department. I have absolutely no problem with trying to find monies for that.
I just have one last, and I'll get out of your hair if that's okay. So I just want to make you all aware that I know you're all familiar with Officer Paulus's amazing actions on February 24th of 2021 in saving the life of a 8-month-old baby girl. So he's a member of an organization, the Blue Knights Motorcycle Group, and someone in that group nominated him for the Officer Richard W. Bateman Dedication of Professionalism New Hampshire Congressional Law Enforcement Award, which he's won. So we were notified of this last week, and I will be attending the ceremony with him and his wife, and I'm sure that our lieutenant at that time will also be accompanying me on Friday, October 1st at New Hampshire PSTC. And of course, any of you who would like to accompany us are very welcome to attend the ceremony. So pretty nice thing to get a congressional award, kind of a once in a lifetime, once in a career kind of thing. So I thought you all might want to be aware of that. If anyone would like to see the letter awarding it to him, you're welcome to. But I thought I'd like to share that with you.
Thank you.
Of course, as modest as he is, he's downplaying the entire thing and kind of saying he wishes all the brouhaha would go away because he feels like he's already been awarded, but still a really nice recognizing of him. So we all look forward to accompanying him to that.
He stated to me that absolutely anybody would have done the same.
Yes,
I said, but not anybody did.
yeah, you did.
Some people choke real hard in a, gosh, I didn't mean it to sound like that, since they were joking, but some people under pressure, they don't. He didn't fold a bit. He did just as he was trained to do, and couldn't be more proud of Officer Paulus.
I'll second that.
So if any of you would like to travel up there with us, and we can certainly carpool, just let me know if anyone wants to attend.
It's gonna be tough.
We take the senior bus down.
When is it, September 9th?
So I would take the
October
car.
1st, 6 o'clock on a Friday evening. I got Friday stuff. I'll try to get out of it, because I would like to go to show my sport.
Are we gonna take one of those retired vehicles and change out the town
But
car?
take the town car.
No, are we gonna change out the town car with one of the retired vehicles?
I don't know if we want to.
Well, it's gonna be a lot newer than
Then with the town
The
car.
town car.
The town car is worse than any car you got in your fleet.
Oh, no.
I guarantee it.
Yeah, I guess, Kevin can go
Figure
over
that
that
out.
and see which one's one to keep, which one's one to jump.
Have you driven?
Right.
No, can we take the worst one in the town car and have a drag?
All right.
Whichever one wins, this is the one we keep. So-
we gotta get going.
The
Yeah,
Rochester
We need
Fair
to,
too.
no offense to the chief.
I'm done.
Are these for us to keep?
They are, yes.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are a department of your town, just how you want one.
I know.
No one throws it down. on me when I open
Doesn't
the
have
meal.
to be an
Yeah.
alcoholic drink. It could be a donut.
It could be a Diet Coke, a cider donut somewhere.
Thank you.
Ooh,
Oh,
those
it's-
are good.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Super nice, thank you.
My son met your
I
husband.
do have one
I heard.
last thing. I'm just now finding out that you're spending money from your pocket for police equipment and or gear and or I don't know. And I'm just curious about that. Is this like bringing in cookies for the kids, or is this, what is this?
It was just an item I suspected the town wouldn't necessarily approve for that cost. So something that I wanted for the department, and I figured why just take that issue out of the entire mix. And since I want to do something for them,
Is this an ongoing thing? Are you doing this on a regular basis?
I've only been here for 8 weeks. So
You're already spending your own money.
I really just want to improve our department in every way. And I understand that there's going to be issues that are of fiscal concern to the board. but that I still want for the department regardless. So I really don't have any heartburn with eating some of that myself if I can really make my department, our department, what I want it to be. So it really isn't an issue for me. I hope it's not an issue for you. It's really, I'm voluntarily doing it entirely. My own accord.
I'm just curious about the process of providing things from her pocket to the police.
Oh, in general.
In general, not necessarily this. I think these are wonderful. And these are kind of like cookies for the kids.
It's not
You know,
required.
And I make cookies. We all make cookies. Pat's notorious for bringing stuff.
Doesn't get me anywhere.
Well, no, you've brought lots of goodwill with those cakes, trust me. Tim, you had something you wanted to say. I want to hear it.
I've had discussions with Chief Pfizer where I felt it was not necessary for her to pay for such things out of pocket if there is sufficient budget for it. So just, it's something that, if this is an ongoing thing, that this is something that should be built into the budget so that there's sufficient coins in the future. And in total, it's a nominal amount.
I agree.
when you
No,
look
I
at the
totally
morale
agree.
and
It's the paying out of your pocket thing that I don't want you to feel like you have to.
I really do
Sir.
understand. I thank you.
So you're saying we have money in the budget and we should reimburse?
We should.
Second.
I'm all about that.
I was planning on discussing it with the board.
I'll make a motion that we reimburse Chief Pfizer for these challenge points.
One second.
Any discussion?
I just think we need to acknowledge her dedication and desire to improve morale in the department for that, but yes, we do need to.
Amen to
reimburse.
that. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
All right. Have a nice night. Y'all come back now. All right. Well, she says y'all a lot, so I gotta make it feel.
She's from the
That
south.
sounds-
I know.
I did yours in the
All right, next, I think we skipped over the ARPA potential projects. Is that the next, Gene? We did your town administrator's report.
No, we're non-public.
Wasn't quite done.
Oh, okay.
There are a couple things that first of all, I'm gonna pass this down. This is based on last week's non-public vote. And I'd like you all to initial, and I'll show you, and it's gonna go down to Joe and come back to me right there. Just initial right there. You see what you've done? And if you're uncomfortable, we can go into non-public and talk about it. But you made this motion last week in non-public. And I just need you all to initial that.
Okay, because previously we
Right,
approved the difference of now.
Correct.
amending.
correct,
We have to put the initial.
correct. Wanted to give you an update on the Caleb Hill Road project. So Leanne and I did meet with Kevin Russell from the New Hampshire DOT regarding reconstruction and reclassification of the 1.97 miles of Caleb Hill Road. We were appropriated 100% of the cost for the reconstruction of the road. So that 3.25 million is 100%. If we go above and beyond that, it's on us. But if it only costs 3.25 million, that's what it is. We have, prior to meeting, Joyce had gotten proposals from 5 different engineering companies. And we need to make a decision on which engineering company we want to do the design for Caleb Hill Road. We all know that once we repair the road, once we repair the road, it's 100% owned by the town, so we take it over. You know that. mean, the last go around was an 80-20, the state was gonna pay 80%, town was gonna have to pay 20%. This time around, they're saying it's gonna cost 3.25, and that's 100% funded. If it goes over that, we pay for it. So, in meeting with Kevin, we need to find an engineering company, and they need to get started in October with the design. And typically, and we kind of had this discussion, I think last week, Pat, you said something about it, but typically, according to Kevin, towns have their DPW director, who is an engineer, manage the project. Civil PE engineer. Well, of course, we don't have that. And I talked with Tim and Kevin and I and Leanne, and we kind of came to the conclusion that it's maybe another project where it's going to be a team effort, because according to Kevin Russell, this is going to be a huge project and huge time burden, time commitment for the town, because we're going to have to manage it. And you had said a week or so ago, well, I thought we were hiring somebody to manage this. Well, we will be hiring an engineering company, but we have to oversee the engineering company. So there's a lot that's going into this project. Just want you to know going into this that much like the the police department project, which Tim and I managed, this is going to be an even bigger project. And it's going to be a big time commitment. And primarily, I would say Tim and I and Kevin. And Leanne to a lesser extent, because she's the LPA. I'll get LPA certified. It's local public agency certification. But it's going to be a big project. And it's going to be a big time commitment.
You up to it?
Well, I would like to do economic development, but.
Or is there someone else that we could have oversee that project?
Well, I think that probably, we talked with Kevin and that he feels up to the task, and I think probably he'll be watching that. I did talk to Kevin Russell again today from DOT, and I said, well, could we, with that money, hire somebody to watch the engineering company and make sure they're doing what they need to be doing, because I don't have it, I don't have an engineering background, so this is a pretty big, important project and a financial. Well, it's on them at the end of the day if we don't do it right. We're left with a road that could be a problem years down the road, and it's our problem now because we
own it.
Exactly, we own it. So one of the thoughts was that we, through land use, we have Keaton Nordstrom, so that we could, on a kind of ad hoc basis, have them be looking at the plans and say, well, this doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense. The DOT did assure us that they would be looking at it too. So for instance, if, let's say our engineering company says, we don't think you need to ditch here. And DOT looks at it and says, you need to ditch there. It's our decision, it's your decision to say, DOT, you said we need to, and we're saying we don't, and we're not going to. We can make that decision. DOT can't tell us we have to, but if we make that decision and later down the road, there's a problem, it's our problem. You understand?
Why I asked that question is that we have a retired engineer on Caleb Hill from the DOT, Senator Sanders, that lives right on Caleb Hill. Really nice guy.
We did talk about that.
Okay.
So the question that I had for the board tonight was, how do you want to handle the selection of the engineering company? We have 5 companies that gave proposals. We can bring in all the packets and we can each get one of 5 and go through them and come back and tell us what you want. Or Tim and I and Leanne and then Kevin can go through the proposals and then come to you and make a recommendation.
The latter.
I was hoping you'd say the former.
I'd like to.
Do you want to look through them? I wouldn't know. I've looked through them when Joyce was here. I don't know what, to be honest with you, don't know what I'm looking at. I seriously, a bridge is a bridge. I have no idea. A road is a road. So unless we know of somebody that actually knows what they're doing, I can't answer for me. I would not know what I would be doing.
DOT is currently working on the project agreement, so this is not something we can, we have to make a decision soon.
And there's 5? There's 5.
Yeah, 5.
Is this from the last time that the project came around or these recent?
They're from over many years.
4 years.
4 years?
But they're still, I mean, it's
5.
still relevant because it's just,
engineering.
it's the engineering company to actually,
Well, that one out.
what?
Okay.
As long as it isn't Holden Engineering.
No, that's not on there. But this is just hiring the engineering, selecting the engineering firm who's going to do the design of and then managing construction.
Yep.
I'm in Pat's boat. Just from looking at plans on planning board, I have an idea, but I don't know if that needs a 6-inch culvert or an 8-inch culvert. I have no idea. And so,
We're not actually looking at the plans, we're interviewing engineers to design the plans. And I think just it's a proposal, what they would provide. And, just won't take too long, just like take a look. See what it is. I think the more people that comment on it or see if they see anything outstanding in the history of that company, what maybe something went drastically wrong or something, will be beneficial. More eyes, better. Once we choose them, we're going to deal with them.
Okay. Yeah, we learned that the hard way. Repeatedly. Terrible. The hard way. We're still paying for it. Yeah, so you and John and
Anybody
Kevin
wants
and
to take a look? we can-
Jeannie. There's a foursome right there.
Kevin
You, John, Tim.
and Leanne was going to.
Oh, 5. Sorry, I forgot Leanne. Sorry.
I'm not
She
putting it all.
actually already took hers home.
All right.
Can't wait for that report.
Well, it's, like I say, it's not something we can sit on.
Right. So next week.
And then the only other thing I have, actually, I have I can do this because we're going to go into another public. I got an email from Alan Hanska. Just as it was coming up, the meeting with the DOT, the Department of Transportation is proposing to reduce the capacity of the parking lot from 63 spaces to 25 spaces. This is an effort to resize the parking lot closer to what is typically needed on an average day and to reduce the extraneous behaviors that occur there on a daily and nightly basis. Living in cars and campers and blatant disregard for basic rules and littering is discouraging, so we're hoping to address by moving the vehicles closer to US 3, making it more restricted and less inviting and making visitors more visible to all. We plan to restrict the portion that will remain in use and place concrete barriers across the lot beyond that point. This area will be similar in size to what was actually plowed last winter when the snowbank acted as a barrier. We will continue the barrier across the grass to the west in front of our storage building with a cable across the opening of the driveway to discourage vehicles from doing an end run around the barriers. Please let me know if you have any concerns or questions by this action. The plan in place by the middle of September. Layout of the parking stalls is planned for the first thing Friday morning.
Did that go to the police as well?
It did.
Okay.
And I can tell you myself, I did one night, I did ride along, and we stopped there. They're talking about.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, I had times employees have caught up with them to park in that lot, and you don't feel safe, and all the vehicles, a lot of contractors, people are carpooling and all that park in the front, but there's a lot of riffraff type, just not commuters that are utilizing the back. I think it's a great idea.
It'll help them, help the police out a lot.
Times change, we always expand it
Yep.
back again.
That's it for me. And the next item is the local fiscal recovery funds. So Tim and I had a conversation with a gentleman by the name of Eric Dahlberg, who is working with the state on the eligible expenses for the federal, for these funds that we have now received the first tranche on. We haven't gotten any, we gave them kind of a list of ideas of things that we had, and about the only thing I would say at this point that he could tell us for sure that would be eligible expense is technology. So while we wait for him to come back and answer on these other things, because I don't want to talk about them if they're not even anything that's eligible, we thought we would start with the technology piece and get the board to weigh in. Because if you approve of what, and Tim will talk about this, if you approve of what we're thinking about, we can go ahead and start on that because he's told us this would be eligible, this would be eligible. So.
Did you go what things aren't eligible again?
Well, they talked about premium pay for our public safety. They talked about economic development for small businesses, but they haven't been really clear about that. That's what we're waiting back because we've got ideas, but we don't really know, and I don't want to invest a lot until they come back to us. Technology, anything that has to do with infrastructure, or excuse me, broadband, anything that connects people. So when we talk about outfitting this like we have down in PD, that's eligible. Infrastructure, so water, sewer, but not roads. So there are like 4 categories, broad categories.
Public safety. You say we can pay premium pay or whatever, but
Premium pay.
Police cars are.
So one of the things that we're waiting to hear back from him, we talked to him briefly about it to see if we could pay for any of the vehicles, police vehicles. But there is a calculator that he hasn't sent us yet. It's called a general revenue loss calculator that tells us what we would be eligible for. That's kind of the last. If none of your ideas fit in the other categories, it would fit in this category. It's the last place. And our kind of discussion with him was, well, during COVID, we saw our detail fund drop because there were no projects and it impacted we had revenue loss. So we should be able to, and the detail fund paid for our vehicles. So we should be able to pay for our vehicles with this.
It's a complicated
Yes.
mix of
Very logical.
things to look at, but because our overall revenues, they group everything together, but they have their own definition of revenues for this program versus what would commonly be used in New Hampshire nomenclature, like general revenue, general fund revenue. So there's a lot of work that we've got to do once we get this, but the bottom line is the vehicles wouldn't fit in any other category. The only way we could access these funds would be through this revenue loss calculator. And just to give you an example, our overall revenues grew during this time because of the amount of motor vehicles being sold and registered. However, the way this calculator works, and he had actually cited his own town as well, thinking that they wouldn't qualify for this revenue loss because their overall revenues had increased as well, but because it has specific look-back periods and calculations as to how to figure this quote-unquote revenue loss and the type of revenue that qualifies as revenue loss, he said they were able to access it. So I'm thinking if we're kind of in that same boat, we may be able to, but we just won't know until we have access to this calculator. And he has offered his assistance once we have it to go through it, because apparently it's pretty involved. So as soon as I get that, we'll be looking at that and seeing if we can't justify, say, that third car out of that. And I've already got in our 22 draft budget a portion of a vehicle that can be offset also or added in addition to the detail fund revenues we project for 2022. So we're sort of working on that out plan for those, just to answer your question. But as Jeannie mentioned, the technology is a pretty big piece, and even to the point of the equipment in this room for remote broadcasts and for remote meetings is all part and parcel of this, that gives you the ability to communicate with people that wouldn't otherwise come into town hall or wouldn't feel comfortable or might be ill or one thing or another, but still give them access to public meetings. And it also augments what we have over at the other buildings, so that that meetings could take place over there, over here at the same time. And what we're looking at is much the same type of equipment from the same company that did our work over there. And if you recall, we had done multiple bids for the EOC. We selected a company who was the one that outfitted the EOC, and by all accounts did a really good job, and things that needed to be fixed, they came in and fixed them, no additional charge. So we've been very pleased with their service, and very easy to deal with. So we had them look at this room for kind of a subset of what we have over there. So the components of this would be to, depending upon the configuration of the room, either make use of our wired mics as they are and augment with some additional wireless mics. Put a downcast projector on this wall here, so that the projector would actually sit above the wall area that it's going to project on. There, you may have seen those out in use. And then a camera similar to what we have over in the other building that, depending upon the configuration again, would either be that back wall or over here. And the reason I bring this up is that as you're sitting here, it's a beautiful table, but meeting table, but it's not an ideal configuration. If you look at many other towns, they're often in a some sort of semicircle or U, or some sort of modified U, something like that, where everyone can see each other. It's very easy to tell if someone is wanting to speak versus if you're all sitting here literally, for the most part, it's more difficult to see that sort of thing. So Jeannie and I, particularly when Kevin brought up the fact that he could make this and make it with this tree, the wood from this tree, we thought, wow, this could really be a big thing. Plus also your wired mics could be built right into it. So each of the stations, there could be 7 seats all around, 3 on each side, 1 in the center, it's sort of a U-ish semicircle. That as we looked at the space up here, it was difficult to have in this location where you are now, and it seemed as though over against this wall might be a better location. The only reason I bring that up is that as it pertains to the quotes that we have, one quote is significantly higher than the other. And it's because of either using the existing microphones or replacing these with wireless mics. The issue where you are now along this front area, Were this to be a U, it would jut out pretty far into the room, and it would make the seating a little more difficult here. So the wireless mics would give you a little more flexibility as to moving, adding a table here or there, depending upon the, which meeting was being conducted. But it adds about $13,000 to the cost. Now, granted, all this is, it qualifies under the ARPA funds, but the more ARPA funds we use for that, the less ARPA funds we have for something else. Whereas if we're looking at a U shape over here, built in your existing mics, and having an eighth mic on a podium, which is where all the rack equipment would be located underneath the podium, and then 2 wireless microphones, so for a presenter or for the audience, that's about a total cost of $26,000, including an additional TV, a much larger screen TV, so that you can see things being presented or see people online, as well as the downcast that I talked about, and then the high quality camera. So all that would be fed in, plus also the speakers, and everything else along with it. So the difference between these two, it comes down to like a $26,000 versus $39,000 option, and it really hinges on whether the board sees the value in reconfiguring the space to have your meetings in a little different configuration, making use of a nice, constructed meeting table out of the wood from that tree. So,
So the question really is for the board, are you set with this configuration, or would you be open to having your table up here versus here?
I like it either way.
I like that much better. More access for people coming in.
So up here,
And, you got the handicap elevator would enter onto where people are instead of us. Same with the offices are there, so we can interrupt everybody's in the back room, for access it. Like you can fit more people through here. Use our back door use here.
The only issue with it over there is lighting. So if we could fix the lighting over there, that would be ideal over there. That would be,
And then, the only other thing is the projector. That's not a white background where this is. So I don't
We
know.
could still leave the projector on
Well,
the
yeah,
table.
in either case, the projector would still stay on this, up on this stage area.
We'd be able to see it. from
The
table.
70-inch TV would be on a movable rack that you could move
Oh,
around.
it's a 70-inch, I could see.
And one of the other things I'm looking at.
They had an 82-inch at BJ's. the
Well,
other day.
the reason for this is I'd like to be able to give them what our requirements are so they could work up a final quote, that's something that we can act on. But in order to do that, we really have to have an understanding of, what it is you'd like, because I'd also like to see some type of document camera that could, that if someone brings in a plan, say for planning board or zoning, that they can lay it out on a table and project it up on the screen, so as they're pointing to something.
Or over the TV.
Or to the TV.
And also save it from.
That you can direct it, right? So, so that's kind of what we had in mind. Those prices I quoted didn't include that document camera, but I'd like to at least give them the direction so that they can work it up.
That'd be great for planning and zoning.
Tim, would you need a document camera would you even need the document camera, say, if they could get those documents ahead of time to you, because you can Chromecast it, you
That's
should be able to Chromecast it. with the-
Yeah, it wouldn't be necessary if we have them in PDF.
Okay.
And if you recall during, say, the Honda construction and all those plans that were shown by the engineer, that was all done, online and through GoToMeeting. So yeah, we certainly have that capability.
John?
Would,
So this lighting is really difficult. So they, something different. We have to see the lighting over there. These
Yeah, I
are,
think that's what that was.
these things are really, really old.
Yeah.
Fluorescent.
I think that's definitely something we could look
The
at.
work, and the other part is this big lack of electric outlets. behind that for computers and that. So we have to make sure there's power for these and that's refrigerator.
Yeah,
I don't have a refrigerator at home.
the podium would be the only item. The podium would actually house all the rack equipment inside it. And that would have a fixed microphone in it as well, so it could be used for presentations, but it also has equipment. But that would have to have a whip to the wall for both internet as well as power.
And look for, we all have laptops. And all
Right.
that.
Yeah.
It's sufficient, but
Great.
I like it.
Tim will work on it.
Thank you.
And,
Just one other thing on that, our fund, does it come for health things too? Or
for what?
health? I remember you took on some funds that were available for health related to that also.
No, I don't think so. I'm not aware of it. Maybe I'm not understanding what you're asking. How, like,
Well, expenditures, I mean, you give a list of different expenditures. Remember, there's some funds we're talking about that we could use like health and wellness things. And there was a program that, and the thing I was thinking was that make sure all of our facilities are for, and things like that.
it's got to be related to COVID somehow. I don't know. I can look into it. I can definitely, I'll put that down and ask the question. Right. You're a non-public. Are you still on the clock to leave here?
I'm good. Well, let's just go as far as I
I
can go.
really need to.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Right.
So just do the 7:45. I make a motion to enter non-public session for RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee affected, 1, has a right to a public meeting, and 2, a request that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. We expect to be back in the public session at approximately 8:15 p.m. Do I have a second?
Rubble second.
Roll call vote.
Constantino, yes.
Jessamine, yes.
Ira, yes.
Rubble's yes.
Scanlon, yes.
We are in non-public session at 7.
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, the time being 8:33, I make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public minutes of August 26, 2021, because the reasons justifying the need for the non-public session still remain.
Jessamine, second.
Motion a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. Is there any new business that needs to come before this board this evening?
Joe has some, right?
I have one thing.
Yes, sir.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, the time being 8:33. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Have a nice night, everyone.